As a conservation biologist, the opportunity to work in a place like Madagascar was unparalleled. A trip like this can be very scary. There's lots of hopes as well as enormous fears in going. While Elian is the little boy who stands out as a very special child to me, we had so many friends in that community and many little kids who we loved. So there's a lot of anticipation, and for those who survived the storm, to see what they've turned into, to see who they are and what they're like today and how that storm changed their lives. We have an opportunity now to go back and visit those stomping grounds and find out what happened during Cyclone Huda. Finally back in Madagascar for the first time in 16 years, Sunny and I struggled with our emotions. We were very excited to search for old friends and yet still dreading what we might find. Madagascar is politically, environmentally, and economically unstable. We were very much aware that if they had survived, the sweet children so perfectly preserved in our minds may well have taken some difficult turns in life. Finally, the time had come, and we embarked on our journey across Madagascar. It was a far different trek from the one Sunny and I remembered. On our previous visits, the hike to Antanambao had been a journey through thick jungle, a maze of trees and rivers. This time around, we were able to drive much of the way, albeit on teeth-rattling roads, rafting our trucks across the rivers through a region where forests, wildlife, and human communities had never fully recovered. Overpopulation and agricultural expansion had stunted the landscape's recovery from the cyclone that had occurred more than a decade ago. We didn't know whether our boy Emilian would be alive or dead. For years I'd been convinced he hadn't survived. It was Sunny who had always had the strength of spirit to hold hope for all of those years with no news and no means of contacting anyone who could tell us what had happened to him. As we got nearer and nearer to the village, I was still resigned to the likelihood of never finding him, and I was worried about Sunny. My heart was racing as our rickety wooden pirogue approached the bank where Antanambao had been before the cyclone, in part because I'd spent a better part of an hour desperately clinging to the edge of it, trying not to tip us into the water, but also out of fear. After this day, Sunny and I would have to live with the knowledge of what had become of Emilian, good or bad. There was no trace of the village where we'd left it in 1999, but there was a small handful of people waiting for us on the shore, and they waded out to help us disembark. My attention was focused on making sure that neither Sunny nor our gear fell into the water. Then there were helping hands all around us, and equipment was passed left and right, people holding the boat in place. But the hand steadying me as I left the pirogue did not let go. I looked up, and there was Emilian, a grown man, wearing the same kind smile I remembered so well. I fell apart entirely. The moments that followed are a blur in my memory, and all I can remember now are the tears, laughter, and overwhelming waves of joy, love, and relief. Not only had Emilian survived, but many of our other friends were also alive and well. Here was the new Antanambao, rebuilt by these people determined that a cyclone that might destroy their homes, but never their lives. The party that followed our arrival is unmatched in my memory in terms of raw joy. Word had gotten out about our visit, and those who had moved away from Antanambao returned to embrace us and cook for us. We'd always stayed in tents either in the forest or finally in the village in our past visits, but this time we were welcomed into their homes. Over the course of our relationship with this little community of Antanambao, we'd gone from intruders to friends, and on this visit to family. Emilian had been too young during our time together to remember me, but he'd grown up hearing stories about what an important relationship we'd had. As the village sang songs of welcome, he caught me crying, and I hid behind dark sunglasses for the rest of the day. And there was another surprise for us in the village. My little boy was now the father of a beautiful little girl of his own. She was only 18 months old during our visit, the same age as Emilian when we first met. During our time here in the 90s, the glowing cooking fires from within their homes had always been a warm and welcome sight, a sign that we would soon be together to exchange meals and stories of the day. Over the intervening years, our perspectives had changed, and we saw these cooking fires all around us with new eyes. We picked up our cameras to document the images for EcoLife Stove program, and the first scene to meet our eyes was Emilian's girlfriend, sitting in a smoke-filled hut with their baby on her lap. From day one, this baby girl was growing up with smoke-filled lungs. It was confirmation that while vastly different from other conservation groups, the organization that Sunny and I had committed our last 14 years to had been doing the very best things for resources and people. EcoLife is working to save one tree, one baby, to build one stove and provide one solution, but thousands of times over. Daily reality for this Malagasy community and thousands of others around the world is life versus death, and we have the power to be the difference in saving actual, individual lives. Seeing Emilian in a badly disturbed habitat, a burn on his arm from a cooking fire, and holding a coughing infant reaffirmed like nothing else possibly could have that we've been focusing on the right things over the past 16 years. This ever-present danger and loss had been written into Emilian's life story, but it doesn't need to be the same for his daughter. We are back, and we know exactly what actions we need to take to make things better. We had returned to Madagascar to end a story, and now we have started a new one. Now we need you like they need us. 3 incredible donors made this happen. Our EcoLife community is the most powerful when we pull together to make things happen as one. Just imagine the difference that we could make if we all come together as one of the world's first true global communities and focus our efforts where we know they will count the most. We went to Madagascar to find Emilian, and we did, but we also found something we weren't looking for. There in the little village of Antanambao lay affirmation of our mission, that true and lasting conservation of nature is really all about people.